What's going on, everybody? So in this video I want to cover supplements a little bit, specifically supplements that are going to help you when you're on a ketogenic diet. I intentionally left off of this list any supplement that claims to immediately put you into ketosis or really amplify ketosis or weight loss. And the honest reason why is I've never used any of these products. I know it's becoming a popular thing, and it does feel a little gimmicky to me, to be 100% honest with you. And they're also very expensive, and I've never tried them, so I cannot in good conscience tell anybody use them or don't use them. They may work. There's some respected people that say they're good, but again, I've never used them. I have no experience with them, and just that overall gimmicky feeling and the bad habits that it tends to tell people that they can go ahead and get away with is the reason why I left any keto product, ketosis geared supplement off of this list. I wanted to just stick to the more basic vitamins, minerals, things of that nature that can really help you on a ketogenic diet, whether directly help your ketosis or help systems within your body that are going to help you more efficiently process ketones, or just in general things that are going to benefit your body. I know there are typically two types of people. There are people that don't supplement. Well, there are people that don't supplement out of laziness as well, but we're not going to count that. There's people that don't supplement because they feel like all the nutrients and stuff you need can be found naturally in food. And then there's those that have no problem supplementing. I am a big fan of supplementation. I've listened to a lot of really, really smart people talk about the benefits of supplementing, and I'm a fan of it. I also feel that a lot of our food nowadays is much less nutritionally dense than it used to be, even compared to 20 years ago. We know that to be a fact. Soil is being depleted. We know these things, irresponsible farming, a lot of things are coming into play there. And just also in general on a ketogenic diet, you're not eating a lot of fruits and different things that are going to have certain minerals and vitamins that your body needs. And so for that reason, I'm a fan of supplementing. So I've compiled a list that I think everybody will benefit from. Generally, everything on my list is very safe to take. There's no crazy adverse reactions or anything dangerous. So there's really no reason why anybody should be afraid to add these supplements to their diet. So without further ado, we'll get started. So first supplement on my list are BCAAs. I'm a huge fan of branched chain amino acids. They're the building blocks of life. A lot of times BCAAs are associated strictly with bodybuilding. You hear it a lot in people that lift weights. I gotta get my BCAAs in me. Which is true. There is specific amino acids that build muscle, 3 or 4 specifically that relate to the muscle. Then there's another couple that relate to your tendons and your joints. But then you have amino acids that are good for your hair, for your nails, for your eyes, for your lip health, for your heart health, for skin health. There's numerous reasons why, or numerous things that the branched chain amino acids affect within your body. So that's why I just call them the building blocks of your entire body. Generally, almost every function in your body is going to benefit from having adequate amounts of BCAAs. Now, for those following a meat-heavy ketogenic diet, you're probably already getting adequate amounts of BCAAs, but there's no danger to getting too many. Assuming you're not going crazy, maybe there's a limit where it gets sketch, but generally eating meats, even some days I eat high amounts of meats, but I still take my BCAAs. There's no negative effect to it. In fact, I actually have a couple products that I want to show. Ignore the name brand. I'm not sponsored, people, but they're pretty cool, so I wanted to show them to you guys. This one I just found. I actually bought this at Sprouts. It's a liquid amino, so it's actually a soy sauce alternative, which is awesome because we can't have soy sauce on a ketogenic diet. So that's a soy sauce alternative. It's very high in amino acids, and it actually does the job of a soy sauce alternative. So that's great. My favorite way of getting BCAAs, though, I will tell you, is collagen. So you can take the pill form. You can also drink bone broth. Bone broth is amazing. You can make it at home. So for me personally, I think those BCAAs are going to be the biggest benefit for your body overall. Try to get something that has like 18 of the essential amino acids. If you're going the collagen route, try to get something that has both type 1, 2, and 3. because that's going to give you a full spectrum. If you go type 1 or 2, I've seen some collagens are geared specifically towards muscle growth, which again, there's nothing wrong with that, but you're going to only get some of the amino acids. You're not going to get the full benefit. And do you need the amino acid for lip health? Probably not, but it's beneficial. Why not keep your whole body healthy? So the next supplement on this list is spirulina. Spirulina is a new thing that I've been hearing about lately. I had not really heard about it much before, but I started hearing about it enough from people that seem to know what they're talking about that I got really interested in what it was. And it turns out it's an algae, which is really disgusting, to be honest with you. I'm not a huge fan of gross shit, just to be 100% honest. I know it sounds like queasy of me, but I don't like bugs. I don't like gross things. But spirulina is really, really good for you. So if you can get past the fact that it's derived from algae, and luckily we're lucky enough to have pill forms of things nowadays. So if you can get some pills, it minimizes the algae taste. They do have a powder, which some people say the powder is better acting, but it does have an algae taste to it. So I was not really down with that, to be 100% honest with you. So I go the pill form. But the reason why spirulina is so good is that it is actually called one of the most complete proteins, complete foods in the world by gram. Now, it gets sketchy because you can only take so much, so it's not really the most complete dense food you can eat, but it surpasses eggs and all sorts of foods as being the most complete thing that you can put in your body. And the reason why is it's a fully complete protein. It means it has all the amino acids. On top of that, when you really start to dig into it, it has a whole bunch of fiber for gram to gram, mind you. It has a ton of its body. I think like 40% of its makeup or 60% of its makeup is fiber. It's very high in antioxidants, vitamins, minerals. The reason why I think it's really great, there's two main reasons why I think it's really great for a ketogenic diet. Is one, naturally it aids in sugar and reducing the blood sugar levels in your blood, obviously. Which that's even for people who aren't on a ketogenic diet. If you eat a high carb meal or you eat sugar and you take spirulina, it can cut it down drastically. So obviously on a ketogenic diet, we want our blood sugar levels to be just as low as possible. And this can really help, especially if there's certain foods like sugar alcohols, or for me, I'm starting to realize now that Splenda spikes my glucose level somehow. So something like spirulina is going to help you if you're having any sort of blood sugar spikes, minimal as they are. It's going to really cut that down a bit. Also, it's extremely high in chlorophyll, which prior to starting a ketogenic diet, I used to love to take shots of wheatgrass. I stopped doing it since I started a ketogenic diet. I don't know if it has a carbs in it or what, to be honest with you. I've never really looked into it. It's just something I stopped doing when I started doing ketogenic. So it's a good way to get that chlorophyll. Also, it helps remove toxins from your blood, and it boosts your immune system. I've even seen studies that specifically it removes heavy metals. So spirulina, I think, is a great supplement that is really going to benefit anyone who takes it. So the third supplement that I put on this list is omega-3s. Omega-3 is an essential fatty acid that's derived from oily fish such as mackerel, salmon, sardines. Here's the reason why I put this on there. Oftentimes, people don't eat enough fish on a general diet, not even counting on a ketogenic. Like for me, I love fish. My wife hates the smell of fish. She doesn't really mind eating it, but she hates the smell of it, and so it's not something we often cook in our house. So for me, omega-3 is a supplement that I take a lot. You can also take omega-6s and omega-9s. There's different theories on why those are good for you. For me personally, I take an omega-3 that has a small amount of the other omegas as well. There's been research done that suggests that fish oil supplement can lower blood triglycerides. So this is where a lot of people on a ketogenic diet will start to preach fish oil and omega-3. And oftentimes, for me, it doesn't bother me, just because I think anytime you're telling somebody to take something that's good, that's a good thing. This gets weird, though, when people start to talk about why you should or why you have to take omega-3 on a ketogenic diet. And it's that simple thing, blood triglycerides. There's this belief that on a ketogenic diet, you are increasing your blood triglycerides to a dangerous level. And everybody on a ketogenic diet has this danger of having super high level of cholesterol and blood triglycerides. And I've talked about it many times. Blood triglycerides are not necessarily related to higher levels of cholesterol. Cholesterol is a vessel in which blood triglycerides can get throughout your body. So oftentimes the cholesterol is blamed for the triglycerides, but it's just a different type of fat altogether. Blood triglycerides, in a lot of ways, they're their own thing. So I do not believe, and you can do a lot of research on that. Like, we could talk for an hour about blood triglycerides, but you can do your own research on that. I do not think that if you're following a sensible ketogenic diet and you've graduated from just eating, some of the more unhealthy fats to eating some of the healthier ones like macadamia and avocado, there's really no risk of you having a dangerous level of blood triglycerides, to be honest with you. However, omega-3 I still believe is a great great supplement to take, and so I encourage everyone to take it. The one thing that I caution is I've seen studies on fish oil specifically done by a major university in which they tested all these brands of fish oil, and they found that 50% of them didn't even contain any omega-3s. So the theory behind that is maybe during transport the omega-3 died, or during bottling it just like died out, or it could just be shitty companies that just want to make money. The other 50% were at about half, and I think only 10% actually had what they were advertising or more omega-3. So when it comes to omega-3, really, do your research and find a good brand. You may be able to find a bottle for $4, but who knows? There may not even be any omega-3 in there. So I think omega-3s and fish oil are one supplement where it's worth doing some research, just because we know that to be the case. So the next supplement is coconut oil / MCT oil. To me, honestly, I thought this was a no-brainer. I thought that most people following a ketogenic diet was supplementing with either coconut oil or MCT oil or both. And I find that there's a lot of people that don't, and whether that's personal preference, they don't like the taste of coconut, or they don't know any better, I think it's hugely beneficial. I mean, not only does it boost your fat intake, and it's a healthy fat. It's not the same as eating bacon, which I know a lot of ketoers just absolutely love. But coconut oil is a really good healthy fat, specifically the MCTs that are in coconut oil, or obviously in MCT oil. Your body cannot process them the way it would normal food. It can't break them down. What it has to do is it has to convert them. So MCT oil, when you consume it, it has to be converted into, wait for it, ketones. So your body, when you take MCT oil, it's going to automatically convert that into ketones. You're on a ketogenic diet. Your body's running on ketones. This is going to give you a nice punch in the gut every morning. I like to take it in the morning. You can take it at night before you go to sleep. The one thing I warn about, especially if you're taking MCT oil, is that it has a laxative effect. So you got to be careful how much you take until your body can build up a tolerance to it, because you're going to get the runs, people. So I would start with maybe tablespoon. Even you can go a little less, especially if you're a smaller person. Maybe go a little less, work up a tolerance. I usually will do 1 to 2 tablespoons now, no problem. But it does not necessarily give the runs, but it does have a laxative-like effect, if you will, without getting too nasty. Another thing that I want to point out, and this is beneficial to people that don't really like to eat a lot of animal fats and different fats in that sense, is coconut oil is one of the only plant-based fat sources which is saturated. That means if you want to get enough saturated fat in your diet, but you don't want to have unhealthy processed fats or animal fats, coconut oil is a must. It is the only way that you can get those saturated fats, and saturated fats are incredible for you. They're really good, especially in men. Saturated fats are the #1 link to low testosterone. If you have low saturated fats, you have low testosterone. You boost your saturated fats, generally you're going to boost your testosterone. And if you don't like the taste of it, they do have, I've seen, like, that's where MCT oil is beneficial for people that don't like coconut or the taste of coconut. MCT oil doesn't really have a taste, and you can drink it, you can blend it with your coffee, with butter. If you're not down with either one of those, it has a really high burn point, so you can actually cook with it. They even make sprays now that you just spray in your pan. So there's really multiple ways of taking it, whether you like the taste or don't like the taste, whether it's an oily thing, you don't like drinking it. There's numerous ways that you can get that, put it on a salad, whatever the case may be. But I would highly recommend, if you're not already doing it, adding coconut oil and MCT oil to your diet. So the next item on my list is Psyllium Husk, which is made from the husk of psyllium seeds. This is something that helps a lot of people on a ketogenic diet who are suffering from constipation. It's actually a fiber, but I think it's called a bulking fiber. It doesn't cause constipation, it relieves it. So it's kind of like MCT oil. You have to play with the dosage a little bit when you're first starting off. That way you don't get too elusive stools, I guess you want to say. I just realized we're talking about poop a lot on this video, so I apologize for that. I personally never had to take Psyllium Husk because I take a ton of MCT oil. So for me personally, I don't really need anything else to aid in that. So I'm covered. But for anybody that's suffering constipation, Psyllium Husk is hugely beneficial. Also, Psyllium Husk is a great way to get fiber, and studies are showing that taking Psyllium Husk helps lower cholesterol. So overall, it's a good thing. It's kind of, I want to say, a little bit like MCT oil in the sense of like, be careful, adjust to taking it. And maybe if you're not suffering constipation, maybe it's not something you have to take all the time unless you just want to get that fiber in you. But that's about it. That brings us to a multivitamin. And I think multivitamins, everyone should take a multivitamin because it just kind of covers your bases. It's like, you're just covering your spread. You want to make sure that you have adequate amounts of everything. And in most cases, it's not necessary for certain vitamins. You're going to get more than enough of them. But there are some vitamins that you may not get enough of. And specifically on a ketogenic diet, from what I've noticed, those tend to be your vitamin C, vitamin D, and magnesium. And magnesium is a mineral, I get that, but a lot of times it's also in a multivitamin. So also you could have some iron deficiencies unless you're eating a lot of meat. But on a ketogenic diet, we're cutting protein a little bit, so iron could become a thing as well. Just in general, I think a multivitamin is going to blanket. It's going to give you the first layer of protection and just making sure you have at least the bare minimums of everything you need. And I say bare minimums because for me personally, I actually go a step further on some of my multivitamins. On top of my multivitamin, I also take separate vitamins for vitamins that are in my multivitamin. Specifically, I do that for my D supplement. I take a 5,000 milligram. I get that 5,000 milligrams may be a bit much to consume at once, that you may urinate out a lot of it. Not really a big deal. Your body's going to take as much as it can, and again, it's better than none. I also take a B complex, which I believe very strongly in the benefits of B vitamins, B12. It's give you energy, makes you feel good. So I take a liquid 1 milliliter just droplet of a B complex every day, and I love it. I don't know if it's going to make me live to be 120, but I feel great, and I feel like it has a lot of benefits. There's also, I've seen amino complexes that come in liquid, and the only reason I didn't include them with the BCAAs is because they oftentimes have sugar. So when picking any of these liquid, like my B complex, I went out of my way to find a B complex that didn't have added sugars, because a lot of times, since it's in liquid form, companies will try to add high fructose corn syrup or try to add something just so it tastes so yummy to you. Mine does not taste yummy. You have to put it under your tongue for 30 seconds. It's disgusting. It's not fun. But it doesn't have sugar or anything like that. So be careful with any multivitamins you're taking. I've seen the gummies before of multivitamins, and I've seen some that have as much as 10 carbs because there's a lot of sugar in those gummies. I've also seen that for any of the sleeping aid ones like melatonin. So be careful with some of these multivitamins specifically. You have a chance, if you're taking anything other than a hard pill form, you have added chance of having added sugars and syrups, so be cautious of that. So that brings us now to carnitine. Carnitine is a water-soluble compound. It's absorbed mostly from proteins in milk, meat, and eggs. It's also synthesized within the body by the formation of two amino acids, lysine and methionine. Sorry about those pronunciations, I'm sure I butchered it. But basically, carnitine has an essential role in fat metabolism. It combines with long-chain fatty acids to form esters, which are known as alkali carnitines. It enables the transport of fat into the cell mitochondria for oxygenation. This process by which carnitine facilitates the transportation into cell mitochondria for oxygenation is often referred to as the carnitine shuttle, as once carnitine has transported the fatty acid esters across the inner mitochondrial membrane, it is shuttled back across the membrane for the process to be repeated. A lot of science. May not make a lot of sense. Didn't make sense to me the first 34 times I read that. Basically, what the breakdown of this is that, and what it has to do with the ketogenic diet specifically, is that carnitine is thought to be important when you're eating higher levels of fat, especially on a ketogenic diet. Like I'm saying, you have more free fatty acids going on. You have more mitochondria that need to be transported for oxidation, which requires more carnitine, and therefore increases the risk of depletion of the body's carnitine stores. If carnitine becomes deficient in your body, it'll be difficult now to achieve adequate state of ketosis because your body has an impaired ability to synthesize ketones now. So again, some of the science in this is difficult even for me to explain, and I've read it many times. But the breakdown of it is basically that is if you have lower levels of carnitine, because now that you have higher levels of fat off a traditional diet, you have higher levels of fat, and you're not drinking milk. Maybe you're eating eggs and some meat, but if you're not getting enough carnitine in your free fatty acids are too much, your body can't shuttle all that free fatty acids, so it becomes difficult for it to synthesize all those ketones. So you're on a ketogenic diet that's running on ketones, and you can't adequately synthesize all your ketones because you don't have enough carnitine. And they've actually done a study. In 2001, they put 38 students on a ketogenic diet, and prior to them even being able to conduct this test, they found that 3 individuals had carnitine deficiency, and they had to be put on a supplement until they returned to normal levels so they could actually conduct the test. There was another test done in 2005 by Coppola et al. That measured the plasma-free carnitine levels in 164 epilepsy patients age 1 to 26, and they basically found that they didn't state on the ketogenic diet how many developed carnitine deficiencies, but they say that none of those following a classic diet developed it, and those following a ketogenic diet did develop some carnitine deficiencies. So, but that one's a little less helpful because it doesn't tell you what percentage. At least that one study said of the 38, 3. So it's less than 10%. Somewhere probably around 7% of people are developing carnitine deficiencies on a ketogenic diet. The other test had a much larger poll. If 11 were following a non-ketogenic on the epilepsy study, that means that the other 153 were, but they don't give us how many people developed the carnitine, so we can't go apples for apples and say what the percentage of people on a ketogenic diet are actually developing carnitine. You may not need it, but it can for sure be helpful. The more fat you're eating, just supplement some carnitine. That way you're at least optimizing and making sure all that fat is being converted into ketones. Bam! And so that brings us to our final supplement that I wanted to include today. Probiotics and prebiotics. Probiotics are huge, man. 90% of your health comes from your gut. So everyone preaches about probiotics. Probiotics are awesome. But if you don't have the prebiotics and probiotics are the life forms, the little creatures that are living inside your gut, building condos and, whatever super sophisticated gut bacteria does. I don't know. I'm not a gut bacteria. But super beneficial for your health. But if they don't have food, then they don't live, they die. So prebiotics are just as important for maintaining the life of the probiotics in your health. They need something to eat on in order to be able to thrive and for you to have the beneficial health benefits of probiotics. And oftentimes your prebiotics, I've seen some probiotic formulas that come with prebiotics in them, but oftentimes you're going to get your prebiotic from fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut. There's different ones. Kombucha, which unfortunately we can't really drink on a ketogenic diet because it has sugars and stuff. But there's plenty of fermented foods out there that'll add some prebiotics a couple times a week. Just add sauerkraut, whatever it may be. But I think it's huge if you're not already supplementing some probiotics. Find a good source of one. They're not all the same. Some advertise 10 billion live cells, and it's almost like the fish oil we talked about earlier. By the time you're actually ingesting that, half of them are already dead. Half of them don't survive into your gut. You're left with a very small amount of probiotics. So not all probiotics are created equal. Do your research. find a respected brand. That way you can optimize the most probiotics you can. And then try to implement a couple times a week, try to add some fermented food, some good prebiotics. That way your gut has some nice health. And you do that and you'll notice you're not getting sick nearly as often. I'm trying to build like the perfect immune system, which is why I didn't include it. But I also like to take these airborne ones, which I just got into recently. I actually really like the taste of them too. But they have some good minerals, some herbs, some different things to boost the immune system as well. So since we're talking about the immune system, I'll include that. And that's it, people. I mean, that's the gist of it. There's in no way is this the complete list. There was actually some items that I wanted to include, but then I left off because maybe I want to talk about them in the next video, but a little differently. One thing I did want to give an honorary mention to, I guess, is protein, because I think protein is demonized a little bit on a ketogenic diet, especially like your whey isolates. It's a good form of protein, and there's a lot of beneficial stuff. A lot of these proteins, especially like any higher grade whey isolate, it's going to have some BCAAs in it, some glutamine, some really good beneficial things. And I know on a ketogenic diet we aren't heavy protein, but some people, I'm looking right at you if it's you, you're not eating enough protein. I see some people are eating 60 grams of protein and you're a 280-pound guy, and it's like everything is in moderation. Like fat is good. Our diet is based heavily on fat, but you don't want to neglect protein. The proteins are essential to your body. Your body does need protein. It's not like glucose. It's not like carbs. It's not like sugar. We do need protein. So I know for me, sometimes I fall victim to that. Like there's some weeks where I'll eat like 62 grams of protein in a day, and it's because I blended my coffee and I fasted for lunch and I had dinner. And really, you can't eat 200 grams, 180 grams of protein in one meal. Your body really can't process more than 50 grams of protein at one time. So you're kind of shit out of luck at that point. All your protein is coming in one meal. You're only going to end up with about 50. Not that that's like the most dangerous thing in the world. I'm not saying some bad thing is going to happen to you, but for optimization, that may not be the way to go. So I wanted to mention that, but I didn't want to get a bunch of people mad, because I didn't want to say, hey, everybody, every day take protein, because it's not the case. I know a lot of bodybuilders preach that, but it's not the case on a ketogenic diet. But if your protein levels are low for the day and you want to ensure you hit at least your bare minimum, which everybody should have calculated their macros by now and know what the minimum, maximum of everything they eat is. And if you haven't done that, there's some good calculators out there. Just do a Google search, find your minimum maximums. And if you want to ensure you hit your minimum protein intake, a supplement is a good way to do it, and you get some added beneficial things as well. So I wanted to include that, but as an honorary mention, because it doesn't apply to everyone, and it shouldn't be something that you're doing every day, because you should be getting the proteins from your meats. That I do firmly believe. That's it, people. That's it for the supplements. Just a quick thing I wanted to say. I think for the next video, I think I want to do like keto drinks, like just different things that people are drinking on a ketogenic diet. I'm a big fan of water. I don't do any electrolyte drinks, which is why I left salt and electrolytes off. I don't think the risk of becoming dehydrated is so blown up like everyone says it is. Dude, some days I don't drink nearly enough water, and I haven't died, and I've been doing this a year. So there's not some huge risk if you don't drink salt water, you're going to die. It's insane. That's why I left salt off. Salt is good, but I didn't want to perpetuate that stereotype of on a ketogenic diet, you have to have so much salt. It's just not true. You'll get by just fine. You do retain less water, so you should drink some more water. But there's also, I'm coming across some really, really cool drinks that people are doing, and that I've started doing. So I think in the next video, we're just going to do a fun one, not so scientific-y, and maybe like a recipes one, and just kind of go over some cool drinks that you can enjoy when you're on a ketogenic diet. If you ever get tired of water and you want to switch it up a little bit, and I'm not talking about Diet Coke and stuff. I'm talking about things that don't have any sort of sugar, alcohols, or any sort of Splenda, or anything that's going to mess with you but are still tasty and enjoyable. So we'll do that in the next video. If you have anything that you like to drink, any go-to items that you have, your keto aid or whatever you want to call it, please comment, let me know. I'll talk about it in the video.